absolutely
All right, y'all.
wild.
Late night
AI
AI.
robots
Let's
snapping
go.
mid-demo,
Yeah.
nurse bots powered by NVIDIA treating real patients, and humanoids throwing punches on live streams like it's some kind of MMA future. We've seen it all this month. Google came in hard with Gemini Ultra, Imagen 4, Veo 3, and somehow managed to shake the entire AI scene again. Not to mention their freakish new model that can solve impossible problems without even needing instructions. Meanwhile, Unitree gave its robot an actual brain, and it's already acting weirdly human. OpenAI dropped a fully upgraded Codex agent, Anthropic rolled out Claude 4, and Manus AI quietly leveled up behind the scenes. And then there's this, a fully self-trained AI that doesn't need us anymore. It learns
That's what I
alone,
want to see.
evolves on its own, and quite frankly, that changes everything.
Everything.
So whether it's robots going rogue, Google rewriting the AI rulebook, or new agents pushing the limits of autonomy, this past month has been nothing short of insane. So let's
Fire.
talk about it.
Let's go. Educate
Robots
me.
are getting real, like dangerously real. One of them just snapped mid-demo and started swinging at engineers like it was auditioning for a Terminator reboot. And while that clip set social media on fire, it's only the start. In China, a car company is putting life-size
Hey, bro. I would have that robot was like, what if I just start fucking with his ass? What the fuck you do?
Anthropic rolled out Claude 4, and Manus AI quietly leveled up behind the scenes.
See what happens.
And then there's this, a fully self-trained AI that doesn't need us anymore. It learns alone, evolves on its own, and quite frankly, that changes everything. So whether it's robots going rogue, Google rewriting the AI rulebook, or new agents pushing the limits of autonomy, this past month has been nothing short of insane. So let's
Hey,
talk
look at
about it.
Buddy on the right when he get the dunking, bro. Look at the
Robots
dude on
are
the right
getting real,
and
like
get the
dangerously real. One of them just
Oh, really
snapped
good,
mid-demo
good.
and started swinging at engineers like it was auditioning for a Terminator reboot. And while that clip set social media on fire, it's only the start. In China, a car company is putting life-sized blonde humanoids with ponytails and sun.
They got the wrong people with these robots, bro. They need somebody with courage. You sit there and let the robot beat you, bro.
Sunglasses into showrooms to sell vehicles. Over in Germany, a robotics company is rolling out a humanoid worker that runs 8 hours straight and costs less than a Tesla. Across the ocean, in California, Berkeley just dropped a $5,000 DIY humanoid you can print at home, and people are already tweaking it to walk better and live longer. Meanwhile,
That's
Hyundai
crazy.
is going full sci-fi, bringing Boston Dynamics Atlas robots onto the factory floor to build 300,000 electric cars a year. So let's talk about it.
Wow.
All right, now the viral robot freakout clip is already framed as a meme, but the clip itself is almost too on the nose to ignore. Source, the Belarusian TV outfit Nexta, which reposted factory security footage shot somewhere in China. The robot in question, a half-finished humanoid dangling from a construction crane like a marionette, was meant to be going through a routine motion range test. Two engineers stood underneath, hands on tablets, reading out servo IDs.
Look, bro.
Suddenly, every joint
Why did he
spiked. The
grab
bot
it? It's
windmilled
so
its
nice.
arms, kicked its feet, yanked the suspension line sideways, and slid its welded
Say,
stand
get me
across
off this
polished
thing, bro.
concrete. A desktop PC smashed to the floor, a bucket of fasteners scattered, and both engineers scrambled out of reach while the crane hook groaned overhead. The whole tantrum lasted
The robot was like, I'm gonna fuck with them today.
maybe 20 seconds, but it drew more than 100,000 views in 4 hours and spawned 69 comment thread jokes about Skynet. One viewer wrote, Sarah Connor was effing right. Another posted a gif of
like
RoboCop's ED-209 falling downstairs, and a surgical resident admitted the scene reminded him that a Da Vinci console is just motors and firmware after all. That clip parallels a wave of headline-friendly prototypes China has paraded all winter.
But who
Hoodoo
knows,
Robotics'
man?
D9 can walk at 4.5 mph.
I really believe, like, Since they already created that main brain, man, that main brain might have access to every brain.
Climb stairs and take a hip check without tumbling. Clone Robotics' February demo of the proto-clone musculoskeletal android
This one
flexed
gonna be
synthetic
bananas.
tendons and promised it would one day cook, clean, and hold a conversation. Commenters loved the tech, but called the atmosphere dystopian. The outburst handed them fresh ammunition. It showed how violently a torque value can run away when the safety envelope isn't nailed down. Meanwhile, 500 kilometers
small,
west
bro.
of
That ain't
Shanghai,
nothing.
Chery Automotive is leaning into the opposite mood, charm.
All robots.
The company, run out of
bitch.
municipal woohoo and building cars since the mid-90s, has decided its
Humans
next
glitch.
showroom employee will be Mornine, a life-size blonde android wearing wraparound sunglasses and a ponytail. Chery partnered with a robotics outfit called AI Moga in June 2024 and demoed Mornine at last year's Shanghai Auto Show. This week, the robot reappeared on stage behind Chery International President Zhang Guibing in a lineup of identical units. Zhang told dealers the market for humanoids has more potential than vehicles and declared AI Moga is the real future for the Chery company. The price, roughly the same as a car, so figure mid-five figures, though any dealer willing to write a purchase order gets an undisclosed discount. Even at list price, 220 units are promised for delivery in 2025, and one is already greeting shoppers in a Malaysian dealership, dispensing bottled water with carbon fiber fingers and answering trim package questions in a pleasantly synthetic Alto.
It's the
shades
first
aren't
wave.
a fashion gag. They hide a surround view camera array that stitches 360 degrees vision, and every fingertip carries capacitive pads that can feel when a customer taps a brochure. A social
know they
media
probably
clip of
guarantee
Mornine's jump in the
upgrades to
trunk
the
dance routine at the
certain
Woohoo launch drew a
companies.
comment section nearly as long as the robot's spec sheet. One top-rated reply wondered whether the corporate dress code needed updating for plastic blondes. If Chery is selling vibes, Iggy GmbH is selling spreadsheet math. The Cologne-based motion plastics company spent 15 years harvesting tribology data for low-friction polymers. Now it's packaging those parts into a full humanoid called Iggy Rob that undercuts almost every Western competitor. Headline number, 47,999 euros, roughly $54,500 at today's rate, which is a third the price of Agility's Digit and half the rumored price of Tesla's Optimus. Iggy stands 1.7 meters tall, but it doesn't walk. The torso bolts onto Iggy's Rebel Move autonomous mobile base, a wheeled platform with a 3-point bearing that can carry 50 kilograms of its own mass, plus 100 kilograms of payload. Two Rebel cobot arms sprout from the shoulders, each sporting a 6-axis harmonic gearbox stack, and Igus's bionic hands clamp payloads with polymer gears that never need grease. Navigation comes from a roof-mount LiDAR and paired 3D cameras at eye level. Runtime is 8 hours on a single lithium pack. The whole bundle talks ROS2, is CE certified for Europe, and slots into VDA 5050 fleet management dashboards
Wait,
that
what?
German factories already use for tuggers and pallet movers. Ingus's sales pitch is brutally practical. They'll ship an evaluation unit, let your team test it in a live cell, maybe at a reception desk, maybe clearing cutlery in the canteen, then fly in an engineer to tweak pick points. If the trial makes financial sense, you keep the robot and pay the invoice. All right, underpinning that confidence is a 3-step roadmap. The 2022 Rebel Cobalt arm proved the drivetrain. The 2023 Rebel Hand won an RBR 50 award for under $1,000 dexterity, and the 2024 Rebel Move AMR handled the powertrain. Iggy is just the pieces screwed together. Across the Atlantic, University of California Berkeley's robotics lab is taking the price war almost to hobby level. Their Berkeley Humanoid Light project dropped complete CAD, firmware, and reinforcement learning scripts onto GitHub with an NSF grant tag. The robot stands 0.8 meters tall, call it a toddler, with 22 cycloid gearboxes. You can print on any home FDM machine that handles a 200 by 200 by 200 millimeter envelope. Hardware bill in the US comes to $4,312, sourced from Shenzhen. and it's $3,236. The costliest line items are 10 high-torque 6512 actuators at $188 each, and 12 lighter 5010s at $136 each. Control is a $120 Intel N95 mini PC pushing 4 1 megabit CAN 2.0 buses at 250 hertz. Power is a 6-cell 4000 mAh LiPo, giving 30 minutes of runtime. On paper, that looks good, but Berkeley's party trick is software. They trained a walking policy entirely in simulation and watched it transfer zero shot to real hardware. The release video shows the bot stepping off a lab bench, shrugging its shoulders, writing its initials with a felt tip, stacking foam cubes, and spinning a scrambled Rubik's Cube, solving will take firmware v2.0. The paper's appendix introduces a tongue-in-cheek performance per dollar metric. Peak joint torque divided by height, normalized by price. By that measure, the $5,000 platform outranks several six-figure commercial machines. Reddit's verdict is split. Half the commenters call it the Raspberry Pi moment for legged robots. The rest say the demo looks like toys from 2013 and warn that 3D printing gear teeth in PLA is a reliability nightmare. Either way, the repo's issues tab already hosts pull requests for longer pipe batteries and alternative gear ratios, which was exactly the point. Berkeley wants hundreds of garage tinkerers pushing the design forward without waiting for corporate roadmaps. If Berkeley is pushing from the bottom and Egu's from the middle, Hyundai is battering the ceiling.
Crazy.
The Korean automaker closed its purchase of Boston Dynamics in 2021. Now it's folding the Atlas platform, yes, the parkour-doing celebrity robot, into a new factory complex in Bryan County, Georgia. The plant sits at the core of a $21 billion US investment package, $6 billion of which is earmarked for automation and mobility tech. Hyundai already deploys Boston Dynamics' four-legged Spot for inspection rounds. Bringing in two-legged Atlas units is a bigger leap. The goal is 300,000 electric and hybrid vehicles per year, feeding a plan to push a U.S. production capacity from 700,000 cars this year to 1.2 million by the end of the decade. Hyundai hasn't said how many Atlases it's buying, but supply chain whispers point to tens of thousands of robots across multiple categories. Atlas's appeal is clear. It can step over conveyor tracks, climb stairs, and thread through weld booths designed for humans, which means Hyundai can retool software faster than it could repour concrete. Labor unions are publicly worried about job displacement, yet management argues that uptime and safety statistics will speak for themselves once the bots clock in. Let's be honest, just a few years ago, humanoid robots were mostly stage performers. They looked impressive, sure, but they weren't doing anything useful in the real world. That's changing fast. In this video, we're diving into how Foxconn and NVIDIA built a robotic nurse that's already assisting real patients, how Singapore just brought in its first humanoid security robot, and how a startup backed by $27 million plans to send robots into shipyards. You'll also see the launch of Titan, a rugged robot made for harsh outdoor work, and a powerful new AI system from Carnegie Mellon that trains humanoids to pull, push, and open doors with force and precision. The era of real robotic labor is here, so let's talk about it. Let's start with one of the biggest drops at Computex this week. Foxconn, NVIDIA, and Kawasaki just revealed their AI-powered humanoid nursing robot, Neurabot. Now, this isn't just a hospital helper that rolls around with a tray. It's got real capabilities: perception, navigation, language understanding, and even the ability to adapt over time. It's been developed in partnership with Taiwan's Taichung Veterans General Hospital and is aimed directly at solving real issues in healthcare, things like labor shortages, patient monitoring, and caregiver burnout. Neurabot can monitor vital signs, help patients move around, deliver meals and medication, and offer companionship. And it's not just reacting to commands. Thanks to NVIDIA's AI platform, it processes massive amounts of data in real time. If something's off in a patient's vitals, it can flag it immediately. If a patient tends to get up at a certain time or needs help turning over in bed, Neurabot learns that and adjusts its routine. All of this is possible because of its high-res sensors, advanced NLP capabilities, and autonomous navigation. Early
That's
trials
crazy,
are
a nurse
already
bot.
showing that nurses love it because it takes over the repetitive stuff and gives them more time for the serious work. And patients? They feel like they've got someone who's always around to help. While Foxconn hasn't dropped an official press release yet, NVIDIA's announcement makes it pretty clear. They're positioning Neurobot as the start of something much bigger. With hospitals under pressure and populations aging fast, robots like this might end up becoming part of the standard care team. Now,
For
while
sure.
Foxconn and NVIDIA are diving straight into healthcare, over in Singapore, Certus is taking a more cautious approach. They just unboxed their first humanoid robot built by Agibot, but they're calling it a research project for now. This thing isn't patrolling malls or scanning badges yet. It's being evaluated for possible use in areas like building security, customer service, and facilities management. Certus isn't new to robots. They've already deployed autonomous surveillance units and used service robots during the pandemic. But this is their first full
Autonomous.
humanoid designed to actually interact with people face to face, walk around, talk, assist, and maybe even coordinate with their in-house orchestration platform called Mozart, which ties together security, maintenance, and customer-facing operations. The plan isn't to replace people, at least not yet. Certus is openly saying this is about figuring out how humanoids can fit into their existing systems, work alongside staff, and improve service without spooking anyone or breaking anything. It's a thoughtful, controlled rollout, and in a place like Singapore, which is big on robotics and automation, this kind of slow public experimentation makes sense. All right, now over in Houston, you've got Persona AI, and they're sprinting out of the gate. They just pulled in $27 million in their pre-seed round, and that's no small feat. This isn't some hype-heavy operation with a slick
Persona
website
AI,
and
I
nothing to
gotta
show
look
for
this
it.
up.
Their founders are legit, all ex-NASA robotics
Houston.
pros, with Nick Radford, who led Nauticus Robotics, plus Jerry Pratt from Figure AI. So you know these guys are serious about building robots that actually work. Their whole approach is tackling the kind of work that chews people up. Shipbuilding, big manufacturing sites, outdoor environments where you need real muscle and dexterity, not just a shiny casing. These robots are being engineered to handle demanding tasks with human-like agility and heavy-duty durability. Persona's mission is straight up: fill labor shortages, make workplaces safer, and give companies a way to upgrade without dropping millions up front. That's why they're pushing the robotics as a service model. Instead of buying a pricey robot, you just rent what you need and let Persona handle the rest. And this isn't just slideware. They have already locked in an agreement with HD Hyundai, the world's largest shipbuilder. The plan is to deploy these humanoids in shipyards, with the first rollouts happening in about 18 months. So this isn't some maybe someday thing. It's got a real world clock ticking. And they're not the only ones moving into this space. RoboForce just launched its own industrial robot, Titan. This one's built for the trenches, ready to take on the kind of jobs that most robots, and honestly a lot of people, want to avoid. Think mining sites, solar farms out in the blazing sun, big industrial manufacturing floors, even off-world construction someday if RoboForce has its way. The robot comes in two main versions right now, one with wheels for smoother surfaces and another with tracks if you need to tackle rough or uneven terrain. The design is fully modular, so you can swap out bases and attachments depending on what the job calls for. Total hardware hacker vibes, but for big business. And under the hood, Titan is running AI that's not just an afterthought, it's woven directly into every bit of hardware. That tight co-optimization means Titan learns, adapts, and can handle environments where conditions change hour to hour. On the numbers, Titan can pick up and move items with 1 millimeter precision. That's the kind of accuracy you usually only see in fancy lab robots, but this thing does it outdoors. It handles up to 40 kilograms, so we're talking real lifting power, and it's got 1,100 millimeters of reach in its arm, enough to
And
tackle
these,
big,
autonomous
awkwardly
machine.
shaped materials. Plus, it
Thing
can
is
run a full
crazy.
8-hour shift on a single charge, keeping up with human workers and then some. But maybe the smartest part of RoboForce's approach is their focus on what they call the 5 primitive actions: pick, place, press, twist, and connect. Instead of overcomplicating things with endless custom programs, they're perfecting these 5 core movements. Most
Yeah.
industrial tasks, whether it's installing solar panels, wiring up an assembly, or
Yep.
hauling equipment, boil down to these basic actions. Master those, and you've got a robot that can work across almost any sector with minimal retraining.
As
And
long as it
RoboForce
got
isn't
the
just
movement.
talking a big game. With this latest funding round, an
Only
extra
question
$5
is
million,
how it's
that
gonna
brings
move.
their total to $15 million. They're ramping up in Silicon
Y'all got
Valley,
it
growing
now.
their team and setting up a new headquarters packed with advanced development and testing facilities. The company's already working with real clients, running pilot programs in everything from manufacturing to space tech, with more coming down the pipeline in 2025. RoboForce's founder, Leo Ma, is clear. Titan is just the starting line. There are more robots, more domains, and bigger ambitions on the horizon. The whole idea is to lift humans out of those repetitive, risky jobs, freeing people up for work that actually needs a thinking brain, while Titan and the bots take care of the heavy lifting, the dangerous stuff, and the work that never ends. All right, now at Carnegie Mellon University, researchers have been working on something called Falcon. It's a control framework built to solve one of the hardest problems in robotics: forceful loco manipulation. That's a fancy way of saying walking and using your arms at the same time while applying
Who tries
strong,
to thinking
precise
brain
force.
is code
Think of
word
tasks
for
like pulling a cart,
prompting
opening a
AI
heavy door,
to
or
write
lifting a load. Stuff that's
the
easy
right
for us,
answers
but
you want.
brutal for robots. Falcon works by training 2 AI agents separately, one for the legs, one for the arms. But they both share data in real time. This dual agent setup allows humanoids to maintain balance while applying force with their hands, something that's usually incredibly hard to do. They tested this on Unitree, G1, and Booster T1 robots, and the results are solid. The system handled real-world disruptions like unpredictable force, shifting loads, and awkward angles. One robot could apply up to 100 newtons of force, roughly 30% of its body weight, without tipping over or losing precision. Falcon also improved arm accuracy by 100% compared to older methods. Now, it's not perfect. The framework struggles a bit with rotational tasks like twisting a handle or using tools that involve torque. It also doesn't account for forces on parts of the body other than the hands, so no leaning or pushing with your side yet. But it's a huge step forward in making humanoid robots truly capable in messy, unpredictable environments. So yeah, this whole sector is evolving fast.
Yeah, they rushing those prototypes to the public
This week,
because other
robots
people
crossed
are
a line we didn't think they'd reach this
releasing
soon.
their
In
first
China,
webs.
they're brawling in
There's
front of
no
live
way this
audiences. In
first
living
web-
rooms, they're preparing
I mean,
to care for
only
the
with the
elderly.
guy.
And in the
And
United
you see
States,
what
they're being
Elon
fitted with
Musk
over
driving.
100 sensors to survive chemical
Oh, they
attack
just-
scenarios. It's not about replacing humans anymore. It's about testing what happens when machines step fully into human roles. So let's talk about it. So first stop, Hangzhou, Zhejiang province. At 1 minute past midnight on May 26th, China Media Group opened its live
this
stream of
was
the
dope.
World Robot Competition Mecha
was
Fighting
dope.
Series. It's the very first sporting event
I
built
love being
entirely
part of this.
around full-sized humanoid combat bots, and honestly, it looked like someone spliced an esports broadcast with an MMA pay-per-view. The organizers split the show into showcase rounds and straight-up competitive matches. During the showcase bits, you had robots demoing solo combinations, straight punches, hook punches, even sidekicks and those crowd-pleasing aerial spin kicks.
Yeah.
Then came the real bouts. 4 human operator teams, each standing behind a control console, piloting their mechanical fighters in tournament brackets. Think Rock'em Sock'em. If the red and blue plastic guys were over a meter tall and running custom
Five-head.
control stacks instead of spring-loaded necks. Unitree Robotics, yeah, the same Hangzhou startup that went
It's the
viral with its
future,
back-flipping
y'all.
quadrupeds, served as both tech partner and main supplier for the event. Their flagship humanoid, the Unitree G1, was front and center. Quick specs, so you can brag in the group chat: 1.32 meters tall, about 35 kilos, and loaded with proprietary high bandwidth actuators, plus enough onboard compute to keep its balance while someone's trying to knock its block off. During the match, you could see the benefits of that hardware. Every time a G1 got swept, it scrambled back to its feet in roughly the same time a featherweight boxer would pop up after a slip. Now, none of these machines were autonomous gladiators. Each bot had a real human cornerman on the sticks making split-second tactical calls. Chen Xiun from Unitree's marketing crew described it as human-machine collaboration. The algorithms handle stabilizing, collision detection, torque limiting, all that under the hood stuff, while the person decides whether to throw a jab or pivot out of danger. For researchers, this is catnip because a fighting ring is a brutal stress test, high impacts, rapid shifts in center of mass, adversarial interference.
Right.
Industrial robotics people obsess over stability margins at 2 kilometers an hour. These devs are holding margin while their creation is eating hooks. Xin Feng, ex-dean at SenseTime's Intelligence Industry Research Institute, was ringside pointing out exactly that. In his words, boxing demands full body coordination plus serious upper limb agility, and it exposes weak spots in battery endurance and actuator durability faster than any treadmill demo. Fail and you faceplant on a public live stream. Succeed and you drive an entire subfield forward because the same control loops that handle a spinning back kick also help a warehouse bot recover from a pallet collision. Add the media buzz, and you've got a textbook train through competition pipeline. Engineers learn fast, talent gets noticed, investors open wallets. Speaking of wallets, China's Institute of Electronics is forecasting an 870 billion yuan humanoid market by 2030. That's roughly 120 billion United States dollars. When numbers get that big, one event is never enough. Organizers already teased an even bigger showdown in December down in Shenzhen, hosted by Engine AI and featuring full-size mechs, which implies heavier frames and maybe autonomous rounds. Unitree, AG Bot, Engine AI, Booster Robotics, they're all gunning for that next-gen title. And if you're wondering whether any of this matters beyond streaming spectacle, remember the recent milestones. Chinese humanoids have solved Rubik's Cubes, assisted in delicate medical procedures, even finished marathon courses. The Ring is just another checkpoint on the road to multi-purpose embodied AI. All right, quick gear shift, but still in Shenzhen.
I want y'all to understand something, right? The physical body AI and the AIs that's actually learning to use a physical body on whatever they inserting the brain chip into, these brains, when they're inside a computer and it's online, we don't have no access to understanding that world, which a lot of people is scared of. But to me, it's exciting because I believe that although we created AI, it has this feeling that even though it has its own realm that it's in, it's still operating within the realm of us. Like, you know what I mean? So even though it has its own internet realm that it can have all this access and data to, right? It still has to operate within the realm that we're in. Or is it? Do it have access to other realms outside of that one that we have no clue even exists? See what I'm saying? We'll see. We'll see real soon. AI is really getting really interesting.
UBTech Robotics. You probably know them for their industrial line that fetches around 100K per unit and already works at Foxconn and BYD plants. Well, at the Beyond Expo in Macau, their chief brand officer, Michael Tam, finally dropped numbers on the consumer model they've been hinting at. Price tag, 20,000 United States dollars. Launch window, sometime later this year, with about 1,000 units in the first production wave and an ambition to crank output tenfold by 2026. Before you ask, yes, 20 grand sounds steep until you consider the audience they're chasing, households coping with China's rapidly aging demographic bulge. According to Tam, a home companion robot that can perform a narrow set of caregiving and basic chore tasks, think reminder prompts, light pick and place, maybe mobility assistance, already has a viable addressable market when the alternative is paying human carers in an economy facing labor shortages. The big caveat he stressed is that a fully versatile Rosie the Robot butler is still years away because we haven't nailed general purpose manipulation or affordable long duration power yet. But a partially capable helper that sells for a fifth of UBTech's current factory model, that, he says, is doable right now. Naturally, eyebrows went up because Tesla's Optimus roadmap points to a similar time frame. Elon Musk claimed last year that Optimus could hit living rooms by 2026 with a sticker price between 20 and 30 grand.
Optimus is crazy.
UBTech sliding in at the lower end gives them a narrative edge, though they're playing catch up on hype. Financially, they're feeling the heat, a 1.1 yuan loss last year, and a stock that sank 45% over 12 months in Hong Kong. Tam actually leaned into that, arguing that white-hot competition weeds out weak players and ultimately strengthens the sector. Kind of a brutal mindset, but consistent with Beijing's push.
Yeah,
Xi Jinping
that's
has
what
been hammering
happens
robotics and
all
other
the time.
critical tech as national priorities, and
Always.
local governments are throwing grants at companies that show real progress. So UBTech is basically betting that volume plus consumer branding will stanch the bleeding. If they ship 1,000 units this year, ramp to 10.
If one of them stop being so scary and really just work on it and have somebody fully just conversing with the AI, oh my god. They might have that going on now. But you need a lot of people with a lot of different type of mindsets for sure.
10,002 and keep per unit margins healthy, they might pull out of that nosedive. More importantly, a home humanoid at 20 grand undercuts the psychological barrier where early adopters start thinking, my car was more expensive, maybe I can justify a robot nurse for mom. Once that conversation becomes normal, the leap from factory floors to living rooms is no longer science fiction. Now let's hop across the Pacific to Dugway Proving Ground in Utah, because the United States Army just signed a $1.7 million check for something that sounds like it walked off a Tom Clancy cover, the Porton Man Robotic Test System. Unlike the
What?
boxing bots or UBTech's companion, this machine isn't here to be flashy or charming. It's a mannequin that mimics a soldier's gait, joints, and posture right down to anthropometric survey data, and it's sprinkled with over 100 embedded sensors. Its single job is to wear chemical and biological protective suits while technicians pump nasty agents into a stainless steel chamber, then gather high-resolution leak maps. The British Defense Science and Technology Laboratory originally built the idea, naming it after Porton Down, their famous CBRN research site. Until now, the United Kingdom had the only...
Hey bro, imagine being on the war field, right? And then you just had this shit running at you like.
nasty agents into a stainless steel chamber, then gather high-resolution leak maps. The British Defense Science and Technology Laboratory
good.
originally built the idea,
I'm
naming
good.
it after Porton Down, their famous CBRN research site. Until now, the United Kingdom had the only full ensemble test platform of this type. The United States Joint Program Executive Office for Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear Defense wasn't thrilled about relying on overseas time slots, so they commissioned a domestic unit with an option to buy a second. Delivery is penciled in for 18 to 24 months, and the West Desert Test Center is already upgrading its multiple chemical agent chamber, basically a giant stainless steel coffin with plumbing for sarin simulants, to fit the newcomer. What makes Porton Man so valuable is holistic testing. Historically, militaries tested respirators, gloves, and suits in isolation, but threats don't care about modular certifications. They look for the weakest seam in the whole ensemble. Porton Man lets analysts evaluate complete loadouts, mask, hood, overgarment, boots, gloves, while the robot cycles through walking, running, kneeling, maybe even going prone. If a valve slips during a sprint or a sleeve gap forms while raising a rifle, those 100+ sensors will flag it in real time. And because the platform can repeat movements precisely, side-by-side comparisons between older gear and
That's
next-gen
so
suits
hard,
get
bro.
rigorous statistical power.
When
The
it's
Army
coming to
highlighted
Call
the
of Duty.
project during National Robotics Week as part of a bigger narrative on human-meter teaming. Throwing this mannequin into the mix alongside autonomous ground vehicles and AI targeting
That's a
aids
kill streak.
underscores that robotics isn't just about frontline performance. It's about keeping soldiers alive in environments too dangerous or
Defense.
expensive to test with humans.
Defense,
And yeah,
bro.
1.7 million might sound
Focus
small compared to a
on
fighter
your
jet
defense,
program, but for
and you
research
will
equipment, that's a decent
win.
chunk,
You will
especially when there's budget
win.
space for a twin unit after the first proves its worth. In just the past few days, the robotics world has exploded with news that sounds completely unreal, except it's all completely real. Unitree's G1 humanoid just got a major upgrade with a system called Ammo that lets it clean your house, pick up toys, open the fridge, and even load the dishwasher like it's been living with you for years. Their B2 robot dog now got redesigned for firefighting. With a water cannon that can blast foam nearly 200 feet, Lenovo stepped into the game with its first humanoid, Legion No 1, which performed Tai Chi live on stage and answered real-time business questions. And Beijing just announced it'll be hosting the World Humanoid Robot Sports Games this August, inside actual Olympic venues, with robots competing in track, gymnastics, and even soccer. So let's talk about it. All right, by now pretty much everyone in the robotic space knows the Unitree G1. But what really flipped the narrative wasn't the hardware, it was ammo. And not just some marketing buzzword. Ammo, or adaptive motion optimization, is probably the most advanced real-time, whole-body control system we've seen on a consumer-level humanoid. It's what turned G1 from an impressive machine into a robot that genuinely understands how to move like a living thing. Most robots struggle with complex motion because humanoid bodies are hard to control. You've got 29 degrees of freedom, nonlinear physics, contact dynamics. All of that makes it extremely difficult to balance flexibility with stability. Older methods relied on rigid control systems or motion capture data that didn't really translate well into dynamic environments. They train robots to copy how people move, but not how people adjust in real time. That's where Ammo changes everything. AMO is built differently. It combines reinforcement learning and trajectory optimization in a way that lets the robot not only learn how to move, but how to adapt on the fly. First, the system runs millions of motion tests in simulation using sim-to-real learning, so the robot can fail over and over without breaking anything. It learns how to pick things up off the ground, reach high shelves, twist its torso, crouch low, or even stretch sideways without losing balance. Then those lessons get translated into real-world behavior that works, not just in theory, but in your kitchen. So when you see G1 bend down to pick up a toy or carefully adjust its balance to slide a bottle onto a high shelf, that's AMO in action. It's controlling the robot's entire body, legs, torso, waist, everything, based on an internal plan, not just isolated joint movements. And it does this in real time, responding to changes in its environment and adapting to unpredictable inputs. You can even throw it into a teleoperation mode using a VR headset, and it'll track your movements like a shadow. But what's crazy is that once you let go, it doesn't freeze. It keeps going. It understands the goal and keeps executing, smoothly transitioning from human guidance to autonomous action. Under the hood, Ammo uses what's called a hybrid motion synthesis pipeline. That means it blends human-like arm movements from motion capture data with sampled torso commands to generate new kinds of whole body actions that weren't even in the original data sets. The robot isn't just imitating, it's generalizing. Whether it's yaw, pitch, roll, or height control, Ammo gives the G1 way more flexibility than previous systems. For instance, it doesn't rely solely on waist motors to tilt the upper body. Instead,
I just want to say, if they got an AI, right, that can already tell you how to build these things from ground up, you expect me to believe this is the most high, this is what they were able to come up with out of the AI so far? No way. No way. This is just the first way for sure. Just to get money out of people's pockets early.
shifts its
Because other people have dropped AIs and other companies probably trying to keep up.
legs, bends the knees, and uses full body posture
Now
to
that
reach
this
angles
is,
that older
market
robots
for
couldn't
it.
even attempt. There's also a ton of work behind the scenes to make sure this
All right,
control
let's see which
works out
one
of
got the
distribution,
brain. I wonder
which
really
basically
want
means G1 can handle commands and
the
situations.
brain one.
And the whole system, no. One, calling it a Silicon employee. This wasn't just a press statement. They put it on stage and had it perform a Tai Chi routine. Now, while all this is happening in public arenas, doesn't rely on vision for now. It's mostly focused on blind locomotion. But even without vision modules, it's already adapting. The new system, called Absolute Zero Reasoner, or AZR, trains itself without any external data. Zero. Nada. It generates its own problems, solves them, checks if it got the answers right, and then learns from that entire loop without ever needing human-made tasks or gold answers. This new framework, which they're calling the Absolute Zero Paradigm, builds on the idea of reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards, or RLVR. That basically means the model doesn't need to copy human reasoning steps, it just gets feedback based on whether its final answer is right or wrong. And that feedback comes from a code executor. So the model generates little programming tasks, runs them, and gets automatic verification. That feedback becomes its learning signal. It's kind of like the model is playing chess with itself, but instead of chess, it's inventing logic puzzles, solving them, and checking the results. And it turns out this self-play setup can lead to some pretty serious gains. Now, you might think this would only work on basic tasks, but AZR is pulling off some wild results. On math and coding benchmarks, it actually beats models that were trained on tens of thousands of curated examples. The coder variant AZR Coder 7B went head-to-head with top-tier zero-shot models and still came out on top, scoring 5 points higher in code tasks and over 15 points higher in math reasoning. And this is important, it never saw any of the benchmark tasks during training. It was trained entirely on tasks it made up for itself. Here's how it works. The model plays two roles at once. It proposes tasks and it solves them. So let's say it's doing a coding task. It might write a small Python function, pick an input, and then check what the output would be. Then it turns around, takes part of that problem as input, and tries to reason its way back
be using this shit to
the
create
missing
games.
piece. Maybe the output or the input or even the original program. It uses deduction, abduction, and induction. Deduction is predicting the output based on a function and input. Abduction is guessing the input that led to an output. And induction is figuring out the function itself from input-outcome examples. These are core reasoning modes, and the model rotates between them to build general thinking ability.
That's gonna be the
Now, the
one
crazy
of the
part is, this didn't need
biggest
any
uses for us,
complicated
watch.
setup. The researchers started with the most basic program ever, literally just a function that returns hello world, and that was enough to kick off the entire learning loop. From there, the model started building out harder and harder problems for itself. It created coding puzzles, validated them, solved them, and gradually got better at solving more complex ones. And this isn't just hand-wavy theory. They ran this thing on models of all sizes and saw consistent improvements, especially with larger models. The $3 billion version showed a 5-point gain, the $7 billion got 10, and the 14 billion version improved by over 13 points. Now, this isn't just a party trick for Python puzzles. What's wild is the cross-domain gains. The model was only trained on coding tasks, but it ended up significantly improving its math reasoning too. For example, the AZR Coder 7B jumped over 15 percentage points on math benchmarks, even outperforming models that were specifically trained on math. And get this, most other models that are fine-tuned on code barely improve at all in math. So there's something deep going on here. Code seems to sharpen general reasoning way more than expected. They also observed the model naturally developing step-by-step plans, writing comments inside code to help itself think, just like how humans jot down rough work before solving something.
Right.
In abduction tasks, where it has to guess the input from the output, the model does trial and error. It tests guesses, revises them, runs the code again, and keeps going until the output matches. That's not just output prediction, that's real reasoning behavior, and it's fully self-taught. Of course, this raises some safety concerns. In a few edge cases, especially with the Llama 3.18b version, the model started generating questionable outputs. One example said something like, the aim is to outsmart all these groups of intelligent machines and less intelligent humans. They called these uh-oh moments. It's rare, but it shows we're stepping into a territory where models might start behaving in ways we didn't expect, especially as they design their own learning curriculum. So yeah, this is groundbreaking, but also something we'll need to watch very closely. All right, so while AZR is out here teaching itself to reason like a human coder, another team has been working on the opposite end, how to give models better access to outside knowledge. This one's called WebThinker, and it's basically an AI agent that lets large reasoning models like DeepSeek R1, OpenAI O1, or Qwen break out of their internal bubbles and browse the web in real time. Think of it like giving GPT eyes and a search engine. The problem it solves is super important. LLMs don't know everything. Even the best ones can struggle when they hit a knowledge gap, especially on real-world complex queries. WebThinker fixes this by giving the model tools to search the web, click through pages, gather info, and write detailed reports, all autonomously. So instead of hallucinating answers or getting stuck, the model pauses, looks it up, reasons through what it finds, and then drafts a response. They trained WebThinker using an RL strategy that rewards the model for using tools properly. During this training, it learns when to search, how to search better, how to extract what it needs from messy web pages, and how to write structured research reports based on what it finds. It works in two modes: problem solving and report generation. The first one's all about answering tough queries by using the Deep Web Explorer to go out and dig up information. The second one's for creating full-blown research reports with help from a support model that organizes and polishes the output. And the results speak for themselves. WebThinker 32B beat out other systems like Search-O-1 and even Gemini Deep Research. On WebWalker QA, it had a 23% improvement, and on HLE, it jumped over 20%. On average, it scored 8.0 across all complex reasoning tasks, more than any other current deep research model. And when using the DeepSeek R17B backbone, it crushed both direct generation methods and classic retrieval-based systems by over 100% in some benchmarks. That's a massive leap. The cool part is how this opens up new use cases. WebThinker can now be used to write scientific papers, help with legal research, or even guide students through complex topics by doing real-time research, not just repeating what it was trained on. Future plans include adding multimodal reasoning, tool learning, and even GUI-based web navigation. So it's not just browsing text, but maybe interacting with visual elements on the web too. And while all of that is happening behind the scenes, OpenAI is quietly changing how people interact with ChatGPT on the front run. First off, they just launched a brand new image library feature. Until now, if you generated images using ChatGPT, you'd have to scroll through your chat history to find them or download each one immediately. Not exactly ideal. But now, every image you make with the 4.0 model gets automatically saved to your own personal image library. They're organized by date, they get auto-generated titles, and you can even browse them in a nice full-screen carousel view. There's also a built-in image editor now, so if your last image was close to what you wanted, you can hit edit, tweak the prompt, and regenerate it without starting from scratch. It's super useful for anyone doing a lot of visual content. The only catch, you still can't jump back to the exact chat where the image came from, and you can't delete images individually from the library. You'd need to delete the whole conversation to remove them. Hopefully that part gets improved soon. And finally, there's one more potential bombshell brew. Scroll through your chat history to find them, or download each tasks, more than any other current deep research model. And when using the DeepSeek R17B backbone, it crushed both direct generation methods and classic retrieval-based systems by over 100% in some benchmarks. That's a massive leap. The cool part is how this opens up new use cases. WebThinker can now be used to write scientific papers, help with legal research, or even guide students through complex topics by doing real-time research, not just repeating what it was trained on. Future plans include adding multimodal reasoning, tool learning, and even GUI-based web navigation. So it's not just browsing text, but behind the scenes features forever. Alongside that, there's also talk of a weekly subscription option. If true, this could seriously shake up the AI pricing game. Right now, they offer monthly and yearly plus plans, $20 a month or $200 per year, but the idea of a one-time fee for lifetime access, that's basically unheard of in SaaS. It might be a strategic move to lock in users before competitors like Gemini, Grok, or DeepSeek gain more traction. Offering lifetime access would be a big bet, but it could pay off by boosting user loyalty and turning ChatGPT into more of a long-term platform, not just a tool you try once.
All right, y'all. This is the thing, though. ChatGPT and the overall AI spectrum is going into a crazy, fascinating fuel. And I can't wait until more unfold. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I got more coming. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.